Hey, welcome to Zach's Tech Turf. Today, we have what I think is the best $200 new plus used PC gaming build, and I can't wait to show this off to you guys. If you guys are thinking about getting into PC gaming on a budget, I highly recommend taking some notes. So, let's get into it. Alright, enough of that sexy B-roll. Let's break this thing down part by part before we get into the benchmarks. First, we gotta start with the case because if you've been subscribed to the channel, then this thing might look a little bit familiar. I found this compact OEM case next to a dumpster about a month ago, and I highly encourage you to check that video out. I transformed a dumpster PC from 2007 to a crisis-running gaming monster, and it was a ton of fun. For this build, I'm using only the case and the 120GB hard disk drive that it came with, and these both cost $399, so we're off to a good start. Next up, to add to that not so big 120GB hard drive is a 128GB Air SSD. Now let me explain something real fast. I know I could have spent $45 elsewhere for a little bit better performance, but in my opinion that's only for YouTube numbers and it's not actually practical use. Windows 10 runs like an absolute joke on a hard disk drive in 2017, so I had to throw in an SSD to this build. If you're gonna actually try to build this PC like I did, then I wouldn't want your operating system to run on a slow hard disk drive, so that's why I threw it in. If you want to put that $45 in a beefier graphics card or a better processor, be my guest, but I would always recommend you install your OS on an SSD. I mean, come on, it's 2017. Moving on, we have a new EVGA 430-watt processor that was on a killer sale on Newegg for just 20 bucks. The power supplies that are included in OEM desktops usually are very risky to run, especially with higher end equipment, so if you can find a 400-ish watt power supply for like 20 bucks, I would highly recommend you do that. This power supply is probably going to be in a lot of my future builds, FYI. Next up, we have probably the best deal of this whole thing, and that was the motherboard, processor, and RAM combo that I found used on Letgo. I don't even know what motherboard it is, it doesn't really matter. The CPU is an Intel Q9400 Core 2 quad that clocked at 2.6 GHz, and the RAM is 4GB of DDR2 800. Believe it or not, I snagged up this deal for just $40, and you guys know I'm not a big fan of buying used parts because when I buy parts, I much prefer the guarantee or the warranty, but this deal was just too good to pass up. I was a little worried about the 4GB of DDR2 RAM, but as you'll see in the benchmark soon, that wasn't a huge issue. And finally, we have the graphics card. This was a tough one because this is what makes or breaks a build. I decided to go with a new $100 RX 460 because like I said, I like buying parts that are guaranteed to work, and the RX 460 packs a ton of value. Now I could have very easily made this a $250 build with a GTX 1050 Ti, but I thought that this processor matched better with an RX 460. So before hopping into these benchmarks, let's recap the entire build. My $200 new/used build is rocking an Intel Core 2 Quad Q9400, 4GB of DDR2 800MHz RAM, a new RX 460 4GB graphics card, and these are all installed on what I think is an OEM motherboard. For storage, I have a new 128GB Air SSD, and I'm also using the 120GB hard disk drive that I found in the dumpster PC. Powering all this is a new EVGA 430-watt power supply, and it's all housed in this very boring compact OEM case. Alright, now it's time to shine. I'm gonna let all these benchmarks run through so you can check this out for yourself. Make sure you take notes of the settings I use, which will be on the left hand side of the screen. Check this out. So as you can see from these benchmarks, especially in games like Shadow of Mordor looking beautiful in 1080p on high, you can really get a solid gaming PC for just 200 bucks. I'm really happy with the amount of new and used parts I included in this build because although you could squeeze a bit more FPS out by going the completely used route, I love buying parts with warranties and guarantees that they work. If you're like my buddy Pat from Socket Sanctuary and you prefer to buy everything used, then I know you'll be able to crank out a bit more value into your PC, but there is some more risk. This build would also not have been possible without that killer CPU, motherboard, and RAM combo that I got, so I'm not completely against buying used parts. Well, that wraps up my $200 new plus used PC gaming build. I absolutely need to know what you guys are thinking down in the comment section, so don't leave me hanging. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please drop a like down below to help support my channel, and as always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more Zach's Tech Turf videos.